You know, that single phrase, written about this abandoned ship found adrift in the Atlantic, it just perfectly captures a mystery that's held on for over 150 years. It's a story that has everything: a missing crew, a ship that seems to be in perfect condition, and absolutely no explanation.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to break down the facts and, well, the fiction behind the most famous ghost ship in all of maritime history, the Mary Celeste. We're going to separate what really happened from the legend and try to figure out why this particular story still haunts our collective imagination. So, first things first, let's just get on the same page. A ghost ship isn't necessarily some supernatural phantom like the Flying Dutchman. In reality, it's a real, physical vessel that's just found abandoned, with its crew either missing or dead. And the Mary Celeste, well, she is the poster child for this. Over the decades, the story of the Mary Celeste has been twisted and embellished into this absolutely chilling tale. And honestly, it's this legendary version that most of us know. And it's filled with these eerie details that just make the hair on your arms stand up. I mean, listen to these details, right? A hot meal, still on the table. The ship just calmly sailing itself. It's the stuff of nightmares. But here's the twist. Almost all of it is completely wrong. The legend, it paints this picture of a crew that just vanished into thin air right in the middle of dinner. It's a fantastic story, for sure, but it's not what the rescuers from the ship de Gratia actually found. So let's start peeling back those layers of myth and look at the hard evidence. The truth? Well, it's a lot less supernatural, but it reveals a far more complex and, frankly, compelling human drama. The real clues don't point to ghosts. They point to a moment of just sheer terror. And this just lays it all out. The legend says the ship was in pristine condition. The reality, there were 3.5 feet of water in the hold. The sails were torn. The rigging was all battered. This ship had been through a violent storm. There was no meal on the table. The kitchen was packed away for rough seas. And this is crucial. The ship's only lifeboat was gone. Okay, so the main takeaway here is this. The crew didn't just vanish. They deliberately abandoned ship. They took the lifeboat, the captain's navigation tools, and they left. But they left in such a hurry that they left behind their pipes, their raincoats, and pretty much all of their personal belongings. This wasn't a calm departure. This was a panicked evacuation. So of course there's an official inquiry, and to put it mildly, it was a mess. The case was handled by an attorney general in Gibraltar who seemed absolutely determined to find a villain, and his sensational theories just ended up deepening the mystery for decades. This guy, Frederick Solly Flood, he was convinced something criminal had happened. He pointed to a sword he found in the captain's cabin, claiming it was cleaned of bloodstains. He found marks on the rail that he insisted were from an axe. He was pushing all these theories of a drunken mutiny or some grand conspiracy, but none of his claims actually held up. And yeah, when you look at the actual evidence, these foul play theories just fall apart pretty quickly. Piracy? Come on, they would have taken the valuable cargo. Mutiny? There were no signs of a struggle, and by all accounts, Captain Briggs was a good captain. Insurance fraud? Nope, the ship simply wasn't overinsured. The answer had to be something else. It took over a century, but modern investigators, using historical weather data and forensic science, have pieced together what is now the most plausible scenario. And it wasn't one single catastrophe. It was a perfect storm, a terrifying cascade of small problems that led to one single fatal decision. And this is the question at the heart of it all, isn't it? Captain Benjamin Briggs was experienced, he was respected, he would not abandon his ship lightly, especially not with his wife Sarah and their 2-year-old daughter Sophia on board. Whatever happened had to be so terrifying that getting into a tiny lifeboat in the middle of a choppy Atlantic Ocean seemed like the safer option. So the timeline shows a ship that's already under a lot of stress. After 2 weeks of storms, Captain Briggs was likely on edge. The last log entry puts them near the Azores Islands. They abandoned ship sometime after 5 in the morning on November 25th. So what on earth could have happened in those final frantic moments? Okay, so the modern theory suggests this fatal sequence of events. First, Briggs thinks he's lost because his navigation tools are off. Then, he can't even tell if his ship is sinking because one of the water pumps is broken. The situation escalates when leaking industrial alcohol fumes start to build up in the cargo hold. A spark ignites the vapor, causing this dramatic but harmless pressure wave explosion that blows the cargo hatches open. To Briggs, it must have looked like the entire ship was about to blow up. So he makes a snap decision: get everyone into the lifeboat and trail the ship on a long rope until the danger passes. But in the rough seas, the rope breaks, and they're left to the mercy of the Atlantic.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. A scientist at University College London, Dr. Andrea Sella, actually built a replica of the ship's hold. He created a fuel air explosion and found it produced this spectacular ball of flame and a huge pressure wave, but left no scorch marks, no soot, nothing. It was terrifying to see, but physically harmless to the ship. The perfect explanation for what Briggs and his crew experienced. So even with a highly plausible scientific explanation, the story of the Mary Celeste persists as this supernatural mystery. So why? Why has the legend been more powerful than the facts? Well, the answer has less to do with the sea and more to do with a very famous author. 12 years after the real events, a young Arthur Conan Doyle, before he was famous for Sherlock Holmes, wrote a fictionalized account of the story, and it was a sensation. He's the one who invented the still warm cups of tea and all the other spooky details. He even misspelled the ship's name as the Mary Celeste. His story was so popular, it basically created the legend we all know today, turning a maritime tragedy into a permanent ghost story.
10. That's the number that really matters here. Because beyond all the theories and all the legends, this is a human story. 10 people. Captain Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and 7 crewmen were lost forever. Their ship sailed on, but their final desperate moments in that small boat on a vast ocean, that will always remain a curiosity that can never be truly satisfied.